my zest for life, going from I don't care whether I live or die to, I'll live, to this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to not do that. And just building to now where I am not just enjoying every day immensely and just, I don't even know, it's just so delicious every day. I don't necessarily every day wake up and go, yay, it's the morning, although I've had a few like that. But I'm getting a great deal of satisfaction out of my work and out of planning for the future.
Tracey, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, I wasn't looking for it. I was at the time practicing vegan and vegetarian and eating whole food and high carb and low fat. And I was watching videos to support that on YouTube. And I kept having this really obnoxious person jump up on the feed. And I'm like, how did this even happen? It was Michaela Peterson. I know she's like the gateway drug for lots of us carnivores. And I'm literally, I would look at that and I would see other related video, just even the cover of them with the meat. And I was like, oh, that is just gross. Like, I actually had gone through one phase in my kitchen that I was like, I will not allow meat in my kitchen because it is so nasty. And so I was not looking for it, but my body was. I have 5 autoimmune conditions that have been diagnosed. There are probably some others, but we don't even need labels at this point. I have celiac, and I have IBS, and I have oral allergy syndrome, which my allergist explained to me is you can test and show up negative on the back panel test, but you better carry an EpiPen because there's things that are not in the titer for the allergy test in the back. Those are just for like the normal ones that normal people react to. But of course, I couldn't be normal. And so I was reacting to things violently, even though on my back test, it said strawberries and roaches were the only 2 things I'm allergic to. And I'd like to think I'm allergic to roaches because I hate them. But strawberries, I eat them. I don't have any trouble. So I don't know what that was all about. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm pretty much insane. I'm just sitting here hypochondriac, just breaking out in hives everywhere, inside, outside, whatever. And he said, you have oral allergy syndrome. I also have lichen sclerosis, which is an autoimmune condition that starts sort of drying out and I'm going to say albanizing your skin, like turning it white like paper. And unfortunately, mine is in the hoo-ha area. And it's not been comfortable. It took years before somebody even suggested that I take some kind of steroidal treatment for it. Not a fun one. And then fibromyalgia is another one. And all of these have been told to me. I don't go to the doctor a lot because I have had so many allergic reactions to medicines that were anaphylactically serious. I don't like them. And so if a doctor is basically just going to prescribe something for me, I'm really not too interested, and there were other things that made the doctors keep looking every time I did show up because they're like, oh, this is probably, and nobody along the way explained to me that celiac is an autoimmune condition. So is IBS. So is oral allergy syndrome. So is lichen sclerosis. And so is fibromyalgia. I didn't even know rheumatoid arthritis was autoimmune. The only one I knew about was like HIV AIDS. That's the only autoimmune thing I'd ever heard about. I didn't realize. And I'm thankful that I do not suffer with that. And I am compassionate for anyone who does, and any other autoimmune condition. And Michaela Peterson is flashing pictures of her meat, but she's also talking about how it healed her autoimmune condition. And I did know one of the things, like celiac maybe, was, I don't remember what made me make the connection, like, oh, wait, she's got stuff like I've got. But I have still not put I didn't even learn that till studying Carnivore on YouTube. So I started watching it, and I was very much like, that is just nasty. That is so nasty. And I don't think I was concerned about it as far as health. It just, let's just say that when I grew up, and I love my mom, and she is now passed, but the way that she cooked hamburger was to make a thing, stick it in the oven, and cook it until it charred. So it was like charcoal briquettes. And it didn't make me want to eat meat,
Kind of that old-fashioned thing where parents were like, I don't want any part of this to be raw. So when it's burnt,
cook it
it's
thoroughly.
done.
That's right. That's right. And I'm really happy that she did her best to feed us. She did the low fat thing. We had to go from whole milk, which I did like, to 1%, which, and, some other things. And she didn't prepare a lot of, she prepared balanced meals for us. So I didn't really have a weight problem growing up, and I was very active. I did basketball, I did karate, I did, I don't know. I was a busy person, but the addiction was already there, because the nights that my mom would make pudding from the box and it would cook and we had to wait for it to gel, I wanted it all for me. Like the little half a cup, quarter of cup, I was not enough, And anytime I got my hands on chocolate, like a big chocolate bar, seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, but gone. And so I know that I was not responding well to carbohydrates at that time, but I didn't know any different, and I didn't have weight problems at the time. I started gaining weight when I was pregnant with my first child, 85 pounds. It's a lot for a pregnancy, and probably had something to do with unlimited quantities of coffee, Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Likely so. Might have had something to do with that. And I did lose my weight after that, or most of it. 2 more children, gained and lost the same. I don't think my stress level really peaked until the beginning of a 10-year custody battle that I took to the Supreme Court and lost every time. And that was really hard. And I was in 3, I must be like a car magnet. And so far that doesn't mean a nice ride for me. Like the first time I was hit head on at high speed, I was in a car, they were in a truck. So there was that. And then I was rear-ended, thankfully at low speed. And then I was T-boned just a couple of years ago. I don't know, but stress. And I went through some times where money was not easy. And the stress of almost losing your house 3 or 4 times, just pulling it out of foreclosure at the last minute, thanks to the mercies of friends and family. Not fun. And then I ended up caretaking my mom for 3 years, 24/7. It was probably the sweetest time of my life, seriously, but it was also the hardest. And between that and having COVID for 6 months, because I am allergic. The doctor told me not to take the shot. I didn't make that up. He told me, do not take the shot with your problems. And so I rode through 6 months, and then I think I had, I don't know what they call it, the long hauler thingy. And then I had it for 3 months again, about 3 years later, and again, the aftermath. And so by 2021, I weighed 251 pounds. Today, here, I weigh 198 pounds. And I really did not care whether I lived or died. It wasn't so much that I had like plans for world domination, suicide, or something like that. But honestly, I was like, and I work as a psychic medium. Like, it's easy, just exhale. There you are. Like that's how easy. And I feel like somewhere in that time frame, after the responsibilities of my mom were over, and the burnout, and I was so sick. I was like, just like taking a shower was like, I don't think I'll do that today, or this week. It was bad, but I didn't call it depression, but I'm sure that was an aspect of what was going on. And so I somewhere in there felt like it wasn't like an angel or something, or an angel and a devil sat me down or anything like that. But I felt very much internally that I had to make a choice to live or die. And I chose to live. And it was like this strength inside of me with that decision. I'm going to live. But I was not well at all. And so I've always been interested in health, always been physically active. I got my blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2007, and I was not fat during that time. And I like healthy food. I like being healthy. And so I was weeding my way through the more common strategies. Like I went through, let's see, more recently, I was just doing high carb, low fat and whole foods kind of thing. But before that, I had tried Atkins at one point. In jiu-jitsu, we actually were doing the carnivore diet-ish, or at least ketovore. And I didn't know that, but our trainer, and I took that very seriously, told us no carbs, no sugar, no dairy. And I'm like, okay. And I never have felt better in my life than that, but I attributed it all to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I didn't make the connection. And there was actually a benefit to that at that time that I also associated with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I've since heard that other people are experiencing this on Carnivore. I had white lesions in my brain from my head-on car wreck that were serious. Like my IQ had dropped down to in the 80s after the car wreck. I had a pretty serious brain injury. Functional, didn't have to stay in the hospital, just not well at that time. And then when I had my third car wreck, they did it, and my brain was completely clear. And I'm like, well, how did that happen? And I thought, oh, it must have been the jiu-jitsu. No, that was, the fact that I was eating that. And who knows at what point they disappeared, because I didn't really have a need to check it before then. But so 2021, after my mom passed, I was eating whole food, and I was desperately trying, thanks to one of the YouTube doctors, trying to eat 5 cups of vegetables a day. And between all this cumulative stress, sheer exhaustion, poor conditioning, horrible metabolic health, the vegetables were not working with me. And I think part of the reason that it was so bad for me in particular was that I have celiac. I got IBS because of my diet, and the oral allergy stuff maybe played a part in it, but you're not supposed to eat gluten. And I was eating gluten, lots of sweets. And, we had thank God the restaurant closed. I'm sorry for the chef that was there, but it was like a bakery that she did like French patisserie, like the real. And even though I didn't eat gluten because I was gluten-free at the time, I ate a lot of things that were not gluten-free in that period of time. And I wasn't associating everything, you eat this, it's bad for you, it's going to cause this. I wasn't there in my head. I was just like, ooh, croissant, And so I think that my philosophy is that eating the gluten with my autoimmune condition, and then the oils that are so prevalent. I mean, you can hardly go anywhere that they don't use some nasty, seed oil, canola or even like olive oil, but it's like cut, and it just destroyed. And then you take a gut that's that traumatized from, it's already starting to leak and, be permeable. And then you just throw in it like mad amount of vegetables. It was not a fun time.
So around this point, had you seen Michaela Peterson's video?
It was right about then that I started seeing it. And I think did she also have IBS? I can't recall.
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I'm not 100%.
That was the link for me between the diet and what was going on for me was the IBS. But that was the link. That was the exact link that, and so I think it might have been mentioned in one of her videos. If it didn't, there was some connection back to her. And I'm like, there's just no way people can just eat meat, salt, and water. Like, what is that, But then I met, some of the other leading names on YouTube for the doctors that are promoting it. And I started thinking beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, Dr. Berry, and Nisha, his wife, also just being ketovore kind of is positive for people that are transitioning too. And so I had lost some weight just doing whole food. Oh, and I had started intermittent fasting. So I'd done maybe a year of that. So in 2022, I started intermittent fasting. And so I determined that the year 2023 was going to be my year of healing my body. And I decided I'm doing the carnivore because listen to all these people. This is fantastic. And so in January 2023, weight-wise, I was at 228. So I had lost some weight at that time, but still not good. Not doing better, as the food became more whole, less junky, as I, whatever. So that's when I started carnivore.
January 2023. The first question I've got actually is related to intermittent fasting. So
Yeah.
you'd done intermittent fasting for about a year beforehand.
Yeah.
How much did was that something that continued in carnivore? And if so, did you find it was easier now?
Oh, it's much easier doing carnivore because I'm never hungry, like hardly ever hungry. But it doesn't mean I don't eat. I do eat, but I feed like usually twice a day or once and a half a day. So like a pound to a pound and a half of meat and probably the equivalent of a stick of butter of fat, whether it's butter or tallow involved, you know. But yeah, when I started intermittent fasting with the more not carnivore diet, I was eating from like no earlier than 10 or 11 and then stopping around 6. And now, like, I have to sometimes remind myself, or my dogs remind me, hey, mom, it's lunchtime, and so I don't usually eat before about 12:30. Sometimes not till 2, sometimes not till later in the day, but most of the time I'm eating 12:30, and then like anywhere from 4:30 to 6:30 I start to feel a little something something. So like if I something like today I had fixed a pound of beef. I chopped it up. I am still occasionally using seasonings that are keto friendly, no sweeteners anymore, and salt. And so I did like a pound of stuff with some Grill Master seasoning on it, and of beef with salt and Grill Master, and I couldn't eat it all, and so I just saved it. And then what I tend to do is eat butter with my cold leftover, like a little later in the day. And it's clean. So, and I love lamb too. So, yeah.
Hmm. You just completed a year. We're 14 months now.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I
So,
changed up one thing at the beginning of this year too. I cut out
hmm.
dairy.
And what was the impact of that?
Well, I'm going to back up slightly because what happened let me back up to May, bring you down my dark alleyway here. Um, in May of 2022, I slipped and I had cravings. And I had a friend who's no longer a friend she was like, if you want it that bad, just have it, just get it out of your system. Not good for a abstainer, not a moderator. And so I was jonesing for cheesecake and egg custard. And in the month, I will say probably this was in May 2023, I probably did it 7 times, you know. I did. And the effect was my weight jumped up 7 pounds. So I stopped it and it dropped down a little bit, but not where it had been. Like I had gotten down to 204 at that point from 228. It popped up to 213 and it was just like, what you going to do about it? You going to eat, you going to keep eating it? You going to do it again? And so I didn't step off the trail at that point, but my penance and punishment and body going, oh, you thought you were getting better. Oh, wait. Yeah, you're better when you do it. And my punishment was 6 months of 3 pound up and down, 3 pounds up and down for 6 months. And I was religious about it, religious, but I was still doing cream in my coffee. And so the change that I decided to come up with was, and it was actually inspired by Nisha, Dr. Berry's wife, Nisha Berry. She said, do the hard. do the hard. And I'm like, okay, I'll do the hard. I'll give up cream, you know? And weirdly enough, the cream fell away. The bacon fell away. Then I developed an egg allergy. So I did duck eggs. Then I got allergic to them. So no eggs. And I am still eating coffee, although I know my body doesn't like it. And with butter, because that's the sacred fatty latte kind of thing. Just some days I feel like I need. Today I didn't, because I'm like, dude, man, you're going to be on Dave's show. You need to show some resolve here. So it's like, first day, no coffee. So, but I'm not, I didn't do it for the caffeine, because it didn't matter whether it was decaf or not decaf. My body really just doesn't like it. So, but yeah, and I was rewarded for my effort, because I started the year at 210 and I'm now 198.6. So, getting there. And I'm, there's so many things that I've let go of through time. First it was the grains and the oils. Then it was the soft cheeses and the mozzarella. Then it was the other cheeses. Then it was processed meat. Then it was weird, because around August 23, August 23 last year, I'm 8 months in. All of a sudden, I'm like, I don't like sweet taste anymore. Me, like, what is going on? So, so I don't do sweeteners. And that's when the cravings completely stopped. Like now, I don't know if I could. Yeah, I could. I could go into that pastry shop if it still existed and just go, I'll have a coffee. Do you have any butter? Because the penalty for violating it is too hard on my body. And there's this absolutely fantastic sense of recovering who I am, and not just who I am by the weight coming off. And I'm like, ooh, yes, that's the profile I used to have, kind of thing. Not just the weight loss, but my zest for life, going from, I don't care whether I live or die, to, I'll live, to, this doesn't feel good, so I'm going to not do that. And just building to now where I am not just enjoying every day immensely, and just, I don't even know, it's just so delicious every day. I don't necessarily every day wake up and go, yay, it's the morning, although I've had a few like that. But I'm getting a great deal of satisfaction out of my work and out of planning for the future, like different things like #van life, and, planning out how I would do my van, even though I don't have one yet. And just, I don't know, it's given me my life back.
Nice. So you mentioned the 5 autoimmune conditions. I'm sorry, it's 4 fingers. 5 fingers. Yeah. 5 autoimmune conditions. How have those gone over the last 14 months?
It took, the gut is still healing. And I kind of am like, you know what? I'm just the opposite on so many things, just so many things. But anyway, I didn't get the diarrhea until now. And that's like, it's been going on for a couple of weeks now. And I'm like excited about it, because everyone's like, oh God, I started and I had 2 weeks of diarrhea, and they're like, oh, it'll pass. No, I had low bile, I guess, from what I can hear through what was chatted about on YouTube. And so I had constipation, and then the IBS was raging for months. And it was probably 10 months before I stopped seeing blood where it shouldn't have been. And it was probably about a month ago, so 13 months in, where I didn't have some type of pain involved with that. And there are just certain things you're just not willing to sacrifice. So I'm staying on the wagon, and I am going to see if this, I know, I think it was Michaela or somebody along the way said it can take 6 months to 2 years to heal. So I'm in it to win it. And I know I'm going in the right direction because I don't see blood. I haven't had one of those weeks or something where you spend 3 to 5 days attached to your toilet every 15 minutes or whatever it decides to torment you with. Like, I used to have to cancel clients or social, I don't do much social stuff, but like outings and things, even visits with friends sometimes, because not good down there. So yeah. And so the three of them are kind of gut related. The fibromyalgia, that's one reason I probably need to stop the coffee, because I am not entirely free of joint pain. I also have a weird association with pain because I tend not to like over dramatize it or pay focus on it. I tend to just bungle along like, oh, I just hit my leg, or let's keep going kind of thing. So, but I have seen improvement. And then, another improvement is, and sorry, I jumped off the autoimmune things. And the lichen sclerosis in the area. I'm pretty sure that if I took myself to a doctor and showed them the progress, they would not understand it. Like, that's impossible, but there's a healing going on. So I'm grateful for that. It's also slow, but I have hopes of normalcy, maybe within 12 months, 6 months, 8 months, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. So, yeah. But one of the things that I forgot to mention is in the line of progression of things that have improved, is I started feeling like doing walks. And I told myself, I'm not going to exercise until I feel like it. I'm not going to make myself do something. And I admire every single person out there that pulls themselves up by the bootstraps, some of them with massive amounts of weight to carry around, and just get up and do it. Hooah, but I think psychologically, I wasn't able to push myself to do one more thing. So I decided I'm just going to wait. And I'm trying to think when I started walking. I started a little bit last year, and then we had some weird weather and I injured my foot, and then that was an excuse. And then, but lately, I would say for at least a month, maybe a month and a half, I might have missed 2 days on the treadmill. And I told myself, you don't have to be the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person that you were before. You can just do the 25 minutes a day for longevity walk, because they've did a study. I don't know who they is, don't know. But I heard that if you can walk 25 minutes a day, that is the peak for longevity. Like, you can do more than that and you're going to condition and get in better shape, but it doesn't add years to your life. So you want to live long and prosper, 25 minutes a day. And then you're supposed to do 15 minutes of weight, resistance stuff twice a week. I have not done that yet, but I am stretching because I'm pretty sure that somebody came in during this time of sickness and welded my hips together, because they just don't want to do things like this. And so I have, or kneeling, oh my God, like, but actually I'm becoming more flexible. And so I usually walk for 25 minutes to kind of rev up, kind of there. And then before I just collapse, then I decide that I'm going to, and it's not hard to walk 25 minutes. Even it's not hard for me. I can walk. I have walked 3 miles and it's fine, but I need a regime I can stick to. So my 25 minutes is my 25 minutes. And and then I stretch. So.
Nice. So you mentioned before you're a psychic medium.
Yeah.
So how does your kind of role and training square with doing the carnivore diet? Is there some kind of conflict there?
Well, let's just say when I posted it on my Facebook page that I'm doing carnivore and I was so excited about it, I had people were like, oh my God, your heart. And then there were other people that are like, well, I'm a vegan. And I'm like, well, I used to be one, but okay. And I mean, I wasn't battling with anybody on there. And I was trying to, I think I phrased it like, whatever was working for you is great, but I'm just sharing. And one lady told me, she said, Tracey, I had to read that like 3 times, you're eating meat. And she could not bend her mind around it. And I think that's because a lot of the woo-woo community doesn't, usually they're doing fasting and they're doing cleanses and they're doing natural remedies and they're doing a lot of vegetables. And I'm not saying don't do that. Like that is completely a personal decision, but it is not normal. In fact, I don't know of another medium that does this. And I teach psychic mediumship to other people. So I'm actually an instructor and then I do readings and talking and lecturing. And no, it's really considered very bizarre to do that. So I was trying to figure out, why isn't it a spiritual diet? Like, if it's ancestral, if it's a proper human diet, why isn't it considered a spiritual diet? And I thought about the Native American traditions that I've heard of, and I don't know which peoples or tribes do this, but just giving gratitude for the life that's been sacrificed for them, appreciating the fact that you are alive because they're not, kind of thing. That's kind of primal for a lot of people. And so I got curious and I remembered I'm also a minister, which is a weird combination. But anyway, I was like, I know the Bible says you can eat animals. So I was trying to remember the verse. And it's Genesis 9:3 in the Bible. It says, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And I thought, there you go. God said. So, and I know I'm not trying to start any stuff. And I know I'm familiar with the other arguments, but for me, I never thought of meat being a healing food. But then I thought, wasn't it in the 1800s that if somebody was really, really sick, they would go down and spend their little pennies and get a little piece of meat and bring it back to the sick person or give them a broth of bone broth or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I think it is a healing diet. And all I know is it's working for me.
You mentioned natural supplements before. I can't think of any more natural supplement than meat. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of supplements, I don't use anything other than iodine and salt. And I have become addicted to Maldon salt. I just love it. The flakes, I don't know. There's just something about the texture in the
I,
meat is so good.
I'm in the process of trying it for the first time. I just got it from Amazon, so I'm giving it a
Yeah,
try.
just rub it in. Don't overdo it though, because it is stout, but yeah, it's quite tasty.
For someone who's thinking about this, they're on the fence. They think, okay, well, I want to do this. I want to have healing. I want to have weight loss. I want to have all these benefits. I want to sleep better. But I, I'm just a bit worried about getting started and how I'm going to go just eating meat or just eating meat and eggs. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, start where you are. Like, start with what you can do rather than what you can't do. And your body is going to teach you, you know. And it's hard to take something that's an intellectual concept and apply it to like daily life. But just take it step by step. You don't have to do all of it today. There's a great quote that I heard on Facebook meme somewhere, and it said something like, the good thing about the future is that it happens one day at a time. So you don't have to, I didn't ever imagine that I would be eating meat, salt, and soon to be water, not coffee. Like I did not ever imagine that. And I'm actually started to shift from butter to tallow, which would have entirely skeeved me out last year. So don't try to do it all, And psychologically, when I started, I needed the dairy, I needed the cheese, I needed the veg, just a little bit, like a pickle and an onion, on your hamburger or whatever. I really needed that psychologically. I was doing the chaffles. You have no idea how well I cook and bake and do all those things. And so the transition to not doing that was interesting, but you can start where you are. There's so many like wonderful carnivore recipes out there, breads and I've just gotten to a point now after this length of time where I don't need it anymore. And I don't even want it. It's like, it's in my mouth. I want to get to the meat. I like the meat. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And also like an encouragement that like, if you're hungry, eat.
Mm.
If you're thirsty, drink water. If you're tired, rest. It's like a super simple way. And the stress comes off as you progress through these layers of stuff. And you just become at peace in your body after a while. You don't have cravings. You're not really hungry, other than you kind of know, okay, I should eat now. And, if you wait long enough, your body will tell you. It's a calm that comes there. And it's just so energy efficient. Like we were chatting before the show and talking about how easy it is. You just go through to the meat section and pick out your stuff. If you're doing bacon and you're doing eggs and butter and stuff, go get that stuff and get out of there. And it's so easy. It's so easy. And my air fryer, which is something I didn't even understand how to use well, has been phenomenal. Like I kept seeing people cook steaks in an air fryer. And I'm like, no, I'm not risking my steaks up in there. And I did it. I was like, all right, I'm just going to just buckle down and just put one ribeye in there. And I'm like, oh my God, I will never cook a ribeye a different way, unless I have the opportunity to grill one or do something fancy. But no, on a daily basis, I take a pound of hamburger and I cut it up, mince, cut it in little, maybe 1 ounce or little bit things, throw whatever seasoning or just salt on it, throw it in the air fryer. Bam! That's it. Dinner, And same with lamb, same with steak. just so freaking easy. I'm trying to find bison. Try that. I don't know. You do become very interested. I did a duck the other day just for fun. I roasted it, ate the whole thing in one setting. It was tasty.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's good advice. I really like the the good thing about the future is it's one day at a time. It's a really good way of looking at things. And yeah, it's I think it's important to I agree, start where you are and just take it one day at a time, and things get easier and easier and easier. Before you know it, you're, yeah, like you say, zooming into the supermarket or your Costco or whatever, picking up the meat, going straight home, saving time, and yeah, it's awesome. So, Tracey, how can people reach out to you? Do you have social media or anything?
I do. I do. I'm on Instagram at Carnivore Medium Rare. And right down here on the screen is my website. It has all my phone number and email and all that stuff if you're interested. I do have a YouTube channel. Um, just try medium Tracey Lockwood, and I have a lot of videos on. But the YouTube channel is like psychic mediumship. So if you're not interested in that, if you're interested in the carnivore stuff, go to Instagram, because I don't do the mediumship stuff on the carnivore Insta, and I don't do the carnivore yet on the medium stuff. So Instagram, but contact me, information on the website that you can do whatever you like. I'd love to hear from anyone and happy to help. I've had a couple of clients that I don't coach. I don't coach carnivore people yet, or probably ever. That's not my bag, baby. But I do. I love to messenger back and forth and talk about it so endlessly, according to my friends.
Awesome. Well, Tracey, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your show and for the impact that it has on us that are navigating the carnivore diet. You make a big difference in the world.